All right, that was a practice run. I thought that was a little bit off. Okay, folks, welcome to the Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting, regularly scheduled for October 21st, 2024, 7:30 p.m. We do not have any business items tonight, but we do have a new public hearing. So what does that mean? The public hearing means that we're here for the public. The applicant will be presenting to the public. For those who are interested in this application and want to provide comment, there will be an opportunity to do so. Further from that, we do know that mailings have gone out, notices are out in the newspaper, as well as the mail as well, and the signs are up as well. So everybody's been noticed appropriately. So first up, new public hearing, New York City DEP Kensico Eastview Connection, contract number 2, Eastview, contract number 2, tunnel, shafts, and Kensico excavation, KENS East 1, contract number 3, KEC building, KNS East 3. Application is site plan number PSP 24-02, location 2 Walker Road, Valhalla, New York. Section block lot number is 116.16-1-2, zone OB2. Owner and applicant, New York City Department of Environmental Protection. Engineer, architect, Azove Arup, and partners, Hazen and Sawyer. Do we have the applicant here tonight? I believe.
Do we want to waive the reading of the public hearing?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And
I make the motion that we waive the reading of the public hearing.
We have a motion from Eileen.
Second.
Second from Joan. Walter.
Aye.
Jean.
Aye.
Joan.
Aye.
Eileen.
Aye.
And an aye for me. So we've waived the reading of the public notice. That has been out. And do we have the applicant here ready to present? Okay. Well, I think you know the skill and drill. Just announce who you are for the record and get your equipment up and ready. And again, this is really more geared toward the public, so we'll be presenting that to the public specifically, and any questions or comments they have later we will address during the later part of this meeting.
I'm Kevin Ellenwood. I'm a Deputy Portfolio Manager with the DEP.
Thank you.
Justin Rivellino. I'm an Accountable Manager with DEP as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We should actually, that's a good point.
All right. Thank you for those few minutes there. So good evening, everyone. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation today for the site plan application that the New York City DEP is presenting regarding work for the Kensico Eastview connection over at our Eastview site. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to go over the KEC project in general, and what it entails, what the whole program's purpose is, and why we need to do this project. Construction sequencing, how the whole program will kind of fall together in a timeline. And then KEC Eastview site activities, such as variants that we would be requesting over at Eastview, details on our steep slopes, our tree removals, wetlands impacts during construction, and our rock blasting procedures. So the KEC tunnel program, why do we need it? It's going to be a new tunnel, the Kensico Eastview Connection Tunnel, that will connect Kensico Reservoir to our Cat Dell ultraviolet disinfection facility over at Eastview. We have two main project locations where this work will be taking place: Kensico campus, right up the road here, and Eastview, which is why we're here tonight. It is a multi-year construction effort. The whole program is going to be about 9 to 10 years in length, and we'll go into those details in a minute. I like this slide. I like this graphic a lot. It does kind of simplify the need of the KEC program. It's in 2012 when we constructed the Cat Dell UV disinfection facility. We had an issue with the Cat Aqueduct and having enough pressure to deliver water from Kensico to Eastview. So it really left us with one aqueduct, the Delaware. So to kind of move this along, and some of the issues that we had limited ability for the Delaware Aqueduct shutdown duration and no contingency plan for extended Delaware Aqueduct shutdown from Kensico Reservoir to CDUV. We're also under a Hillview consent decree and judgment, federally mandated to meet certain dates. Milestones throughout the project, design, construction, environmental impact statements, permits, operations, all tied to certain consent decrees. And this project is a predecessor to the Hillview Cover construction project. So they go hand in hand and they're both equally important. The sequencing and tie-in is with Hillview Cover, and it's a critical element to ensure transmission capacity is sufficient. And it will overall improve DEP's ability to maintain reservoir water levels during Hillview Cover construction. So the program purpose and need, we hit some of these, but it will enhance operational resiliency and redundancy for the water supply system. It'll provide target capacity to the CDUV facility, so allow us to meet all demands. Preserve the potential for the Catskill Aqueduct to bypass the Kensico Reservoir. That will still be something we want to utilize. And it will facilitate emergency and planned outages and provide compatibility with future infrastructure projects. So here's the construction contract and sequencing. Contract 1 was the Kensico site plan, Kensico site preparation contract, KENS East 2, that we call it. That's currently underway up the road there at Kensico campus. Contract 2 is the tunnel shaft and Kensico rock excavation contract, what we call KENS East 1. Contract 3 is the KEC buildings contract, what we call KENS East 3. And those two are doing work at Eastview. That's why they are within that green box. KENS East 1, even though shown here starting in 2024, is not really going to start until early 25. It will stretch till 2030. KENS East 3 will start in 2026, and that will stretch to 2033 for construction purposes. You will see two bars there, a dark blue and a light blue. The light blue is the startup and commissioning procedure that we'll be doing under this contract, and that'll take place the last year, 2033 to 2034. And then there's a contract for shoreline stabilization. That's only at Kensico campus. That will be occurring from 2025 to 2028. So the KEC Eastview site plan approval, we are submitting for that. We'll note the variance of the building height that we're doing there. Steep slope application details, tree removal details, the wetland application information, and rock blasting will all be covered in the next few slides. All right, so what activities are we doing under the tunnel shaft and Kensico rock excavation contract? Removing the existing soil pile. There is a little bit of the existing soil pile left at Eastview from the CDUV work that was going on there.
And I'm sorry, is that at Eastview or Kensico?
That's at Eastview. So
At Eastview.
the slides moving forward, we're going to cover Eastview
Thank
to
you.
go into the details of the Eastview
Thank you.
application. So It's critical that we remove that soil pile for a few reasons. One, we do want to get it out of there. Two, it's going to be part of our staging area for this contract and for the program in general. So that will be one of the early tasks that will be going on in construction. We will be doing, I guess it's worth noting, Ken's East 1 is the first KEC program contract over at Eastview. So we'll be doing a lot of staging prep, clearing and grubbing of the site, inclusive of required tree removal. We'll touch on that in a minute. And then some of the major points of construction. This graphic here has 4 zones essentially pointed out for limits of disturbance. So that area 4 on the bottom right of the screen is our south access road. That'll be one of the early pieces of construction we'll be working on in Ken's East 1. That'll help with operations and continue the flow of operations as we do construction. It's critical that we keep CDUV up and running while we construct the KEC tunnel. Contractor field and CM office complex will also be constructed here. That's in the Zone 3 area. And construction of a new temporary contractor entrance along Walker Road. It's worth noting that this is all temporary for this portion of the work. It'll stay in place for the KEC program, but we will restore it after KEC is over. And then last but certainly not least, KEC tunnel and shaft 2C, which is our uptake shaft, and that includes tunnel boring machine assembly and disassembly. So shaft 2C is going to be our drop point for the TBM. We'll be bringing it to Eastview, lowering it in the shaft, and that's how we'll excavate the tunnel. We'll also be backing it out of the tunnel and taking it out at Eastview. And then during construction, management of excavated material, including on-site soil placement. We will have water treatment facilities on site for water discharge. Temporary conveyor installation and removal to transport the muck from the muck is excavated rock and soil from the tunnel.
Technical term.
Yes, I remember that came up last time. Transfer it from the shaft to the temporary staging area for the muck, and storage and removal of excavated material from that site. And then, of course, discharge from dewatering, construction wastewater will be to Mine Brook, and we'll make sure we're within parameters to keep that water treated and safe for discharge. Activities under the KEC buildings contract, number 3. There'll be a new Eastview connection chamber. The purpose of that chamber is to connect the KEC tunnel and the shaft to the CDUV facility. So we understand that there's a 40-foot maximum for buildings. We will be requesting a variance. Our building is expected to be around 46 feet in height. And then along with that, there'll be construction of an ECC, Eastview Connection Chamber, access road. Removal, and then Ken's East 3 will be the last contract on site, so we'll be doing a lot of the demobilization under this contract. So removal of contractor and CM parking area, final post-construction stormwater measures, final site restoration and landscaping, and like I mentioned, it is the startup and commissioning contract as well, so that'll happen after our work is completed around 2033. Here's a few renderings of what that Eastview Connection Chamber will look like over at Eastview. We did receive final approval from the New York City Public Design Commission on this, so just a couple of views of what you would see if you were on the secure Eastview campus. Details on the steep slopes. There are no natural landforms or geological features that are part of these steep slopes. It's all, majority I should say, is from the CDUV facility construction. So the north end of the site, or the top of the page there, that large red area, that's the remaining soil pile. We will be removing that to get our staging area set. And then there are just a few other steep slope areas throughout Eastview. All in all, close to 9 acres, with the majority being 25 to 35% slopes, around 6.5 acres. In terms of tree removal, the green represents the 3,300 trees that we have on site at Eastview. I want to shift your attention to the red. That's the trees we will be removing, around 140 of that 3,300. Majority will be in the northwest corner of where that existing soil pile is. So to get rid of the soil pile, we'll be doing some tree removal as well as helping with our staging. There'll be 30 trees removed for the muck conveyor, about 3 trees for the field office, plan on impacting about a tree or two for the south access road. In terms of wetlands, these are Mount Pleasant, Army Corps of Engineer wetlands. No New York State DEC wetlands are impacted here.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious, what's the distinction between the two? There's,
Just how they're categorized, I mean, don't have an exact answer between the difference. Lorraine, if we know, but.
yeah, just more out of curiosity.
Well, I would also just add that the town has a buffer around wetlands, so it goes beyond just what is considered a wetland. So there's a buffer of about, I believe, 50 feet.
Okay, thank you.
And we do mention in the next slide the buffer area that is impacted versus the actual areas. So the one construction outfall to Mine Brook is around 100 square feet of wetland buffer disturbance. We have 3 potential locations of outfall that have been identified. Contractor could choose which location suits best during construction. We'll work with them to make sure that is the best option. Conveyor crossing impacts some of the wetlands as well, and stormwater outfalls. Again, these are all temporary disturbances. Everything will be restored once construction is finished. So here are those details. The first image to your left is the conveyor crossing. It will have 1,250 square feet of temporary disturbances in the wetland. If you include the buffer, it's 5,760 square feet. And then the image to your right is the CM contractor trailer and parking area. That's 1,250 square feet of disturbance. And then in the buffer, it's 2,930. All right, and then just the details of our rock blasting. So one thing to make clear here, rock blasting at Eastview will be for shaft 2C as we go from surface down to tunnel level. And then, as I've mentioned, the tunnel boring machine will be lowered and we'll do the excavating for the tunnel itself through the TBM. So rock blasting will be pretty much shaft, a couple of things at the bottom of the shaft to make like a starter tunnel just to make sure there's enough room for the TBM to get going. And then the TBM will take the excavation from there. Blasting will be controlled and it will meet town code such as pre-blast surveys. There will be blast monitoring implemented as part of construction. We anticipate as many as 3 blasts a day, though that's, if everything lines up perfectly, there could be less than that.
I'm sorry, it's 3 blasts a day for, what is the duration of the project?
So we'll be blasting, or tunnel excavation will last from 2026 to around early 2028, so about 2 years or so. And then once that excavation is complete, we'll start the tunnel boring machine work.
Okay.
Town and adjacent owners would be notified ahead of time of blasting. Blasting would be performed with a blast cover such as a mat or door, and that should reduce noise anywhere between 40 to 90%. So we should certainly want to use something like that. And I think with that, that's the end of the presentation, and we will.
Can you do me a favor, because I
Yeah.
tell the board was peaked. Can you turn the monitor a little bit and just show the rendering of the building itself? I know it's like maybe 6, 7, 8 slides back, because I don't think we saw that before.
Absolutely.
Did we? Well, my memory could be off. Okay, okay, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm the only one who didn't remember, but I don't remember the rendering, so.
2 different views. The left is looking east from entrance, and then the right is looking from the east, so I guess towards the west. So 2 sides of the building there.
Okay, thank you, that was helpful. Okay.
Just clarify the blasting, to follow up on Jim, so it's going to be 3 times a day for 2 years?
In best case scenario, some days we'll see 3. I don't think it'll be 3 times a day every day. So it wouldn't line up that perfectly every day.
So then the notification to the neighbors that you mentioned, is that just going to be a blanket notification? We're going to be starting blasting on X date, and you can expect this for the next 2 years?
Our notifications are however the town code expects us to notify the residents. So if you have the details on.
Yeah, so we would notify before each blast. The 3 a day, it's the most conservative. You know, we need to drill into the rock and then load it full of explosives and then blast and then remove all that rock. So, you know, that's not done in a day. But, you know, we disclose the most conservative rate.
But probably one a day.
One a day would still be a great production rate. I would love to get one a day, yeah.
Our cycle moves great.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members?
This contract has already been awarded, correct?
That's correct.
So they have a notice to proceed and the clock is started ticking?
We have not issued a notice to proceed yet on this contract. We're working on that next. So,
And this is the contract that runs to 2030 thereabouts?
yes.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. I have just one question. So, I know in the past I've brought up how does the town benefit. What I'm referring to is the soft things, not financial. More tree replanting, any kind of treescape, landscaping, any kind of replanting plan or environmental benefit that we can look at or discuss or think about once you guys are gone. Because we're cutting down 3,300 trees, and I know you have to do it, and you're going around it. Is there any kind of plan to replant or put anything back in place or in lieu of, or some sort of treescape beautification?
Well, yes, so for tree removal, we have the tree restoration that we'll be conducting. We have details that we do want to issue in terms of benefits that KEC is providing to the town. We have that summarized. We'd be happy to share that. But yeah, there's just a number of things that we're tracking in terms of benefits to the town and how this project could certainly help it.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of benefits, and that's above my pay grade, but I'm really more focused on the soft benefits, meaning the trees and the plants, and could we, put a nice flowering tree somewhere? I don't know.
I'd say that's one thing, Jim, but what about the roads and the restoration to the street in the path of construction?
Correct, yep.
So Walker Road will have restoration because we are doing a lot of work in that area. It's part of our contract. We are working out details to the optimal trucking route as well for muck that we're trekking off-site and making sure that those impacts are minimal or as minimal as can be during construction. But yeah, this is, we do have some details on some of the benefits that program will bring to the town of Mount Pleasant along with.
Perfect,
So,
thank you.
and you just got off the slide, and I noticed that it says that Walker Road will be rebuilt after construction, but we've talked a lot about opening the dam. We know that it's not a possibility, but the public always speaks on that every time that you guys are in front of us. So there is going to be a path of construction with tremendous burden on the road system over the next, 5, 10 years, however long this project is going to take. I mean, I think it should be more than Walker Road that we're talking about. Whatever ends up taking the path of progress that you guys are going to work on, how you're going to work with the town on, what direction that goes. But I mean, those roadways should be in this conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that has come up. The one thing we did want to, and we brought it up last discussion as well, is finding the optimal route first and foremost on what the town would recommend our trucks take. And I think we've come up with a few options. Do we want to show? Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it in here. Oh. So we're thinking this might be best from Eastview. Going south, Walker, Grasslands, Sawmill, yeah, and then cross Westchester at 287, or Walker Danner Sawmill Road to 9A. So we're looking at this as potential routes and love feedback.
For phase 2, because you're at the outskirts of town, you're not going too far into town with traffic, because that property is next to Greenberg, and you're going down. Just point out where you're going.
So,
Can you
starting,
literally point at the screen or use your arrow to do that so I can follow?
does the arrow show up? We'll have to get out of this, Kevin. Here.
There we go. Great.
Could do that.
Sure. Okay, so here's the Eastview site. This is Grasslands Road right here. So this is where the majority, as Justin said, this is where the majority of the mucking, rock removal will take place, the shaft material and then from the tunnel as well. So almost all of the material for this project comes out of the Eastview site. And it's really just going north or south. So if you're going south, they'd make the right onto Grasslands and then head south on 9A. Or if they want to go north, they can go up Walker Road to Dana Road and then to 9A and then to wherever they need to dispose the material.
And I know we said that there's two locations for KEC, Kensico, Eastview. We specifically wrote it in our specifications that they are not to cross Lakeview from one site to the other. So what Kevin has here is the ideal trucking of off-site stuff.
Yeah, what about, so are you going to go down up Legion Drive over to Grasslands Road at any point for this phase? No, I
I mean,
can't.
what we're proposing is,
Legion Drive to go from Kensico down Columbus Avenue to across the bridge, that's Legion Drive up the hill to Grasslands Road and make a right up Grasslands Road.
Right, so this differs from the CDUV project in that we're not taking excavated material from Eastview to Kensico, but we do have to allow for the possibility if there is going to be traffic between the two sites, that actually would be the preferred route instead of going across Lakeview. You go down Grasslands to Legion, and then you come to the light at Columbus, and then go left, go north on Columbus. But as I said, the material is not going to be moving from Eastview to Kensico.
Understood, okay. Okay, so we were reviewing the benefit slide. Can we just go back to that? So we're going to rebuild Walker Road, relief from town having to rebuild the existing Westlake Drive and the useful life. Right, okay, DP constructing new relocated Westlake Drive, okay, school parking lot, which we know about Kensico campus frontage, improvement, quality fence and plantings. And that's what I'm glad to see there, fence and plantings. DP will build and provide a new water tap at Kensico campus and Columbus Avenue. What is a water tap?
new service line straight from our new water line running from the Kensico Reservoir. It'll pass through our screen chamber and run to a vault that provides water to Westchester County.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So we're here tonight for a public hearing. So what does that mean? It means the public is here to talk. We'll see if anybody here is from the public to talk on this application in a moment. I'm going to ask the members of the public who are interested in a moment to raise your hand. If you have a number, you can speak. If you don't have a number, you can't speak. If you're not sure if you want to speak or not, raise your hand, because this is the only time that we can do this. Just state your name and all that for the record. I'm going to limit you to 5 minutes, and bring up points related to this project, and we'll take a show of hands. Okay, we have one. My finger... The joke is I can never keep track, so Joan always keeps track of me, but if I can't keep track of one, I'll have problems. So, all right, keep track of my one. Okay, so going once, going twice, going 3 times. Let the record show that there's one speaker here tonight speaking on behalf of this from the public. Come on up. And state your name and all of that for the record.
Jim Russell from Hawthorne. For a productive public hearing, there are many elements, and the 2 of them that are essential, I believe, are adequate notification and adequate access to documents. And I don't think that's taken place here this evening. That might contribute to why there's only one person speaking now. The town does keep a list of people who are interested in public hearings, interested in planning board issues, and I did send an email, a reminding email that did maybe contribute to a notice going out late on Friday afternoon mentioning this important public hearing. I know there's some small font notices in the newspaper and a sign on at the site, but I think it's important for something like this that people have a greater awareness, and that's the purpose of this email list that's maintained by the town, and to send out those notifications. And also, it's not easy to view the documentation. There's no documentation on the website about this application. The only thing that's there is a 2-page fact sheet. So some people have raised some security inferences, but we did have a public hearing here on August 1st that was more detailed than this evening's public hearing, which was very good, I thought. I think a link to that could be made, and a notice referring to that link, and allow people to come to the next meeting if they have additional questions. And at least keep the written comment period open for 30 days, if you wouldn't do that. I think it'd be helpful. I don't know if any of the members of this board have visited the site to get an idea. I mean, some of these diagrams don't really convey, I don't think, in full what might be going on. That's a suggestion. I also think that the students and the faculty and the staff of the New York Medical College aren't that far away from this site. I don't know if they've been included in the notifications and had an opportunity to comment. You mentioned on August 1st in this evening that the benefits to the town are important, that we should derive certain benefits in return for the disruption of our quality of life. And I think we also want to minimize this disruption. We have sort of an aggressive rush schedule here, 24-hour around-the-clock scheduling, up to 10. At the public meeting, it was stated that up to 10 truckloads of material could be coming out of the Eastview site. And that could be onto grasslands. There's a lot of traffic there. This can be around the clock all day long. I don't think we can anticipate and guarantee variances to accommodate some of this aggressive scheduling. For New York City, it's supposed to benefit people up to 50, 100 years in the future, but for the residents of Mount Pleasant, this affects our quality of life daily at the present time. So I do ask that you extend the time period to the next meeting so people have an opportunity to look at the actual presentation. I don't think people are going to make appointments to come to Town Hall. They shouldn't have to do that to review an application that's before the board. And also to at least grant a 30-day written comment period.
Thank you. So a couple things I'm going to point out. Mailings did go out to all the adjoining property owners. Notices were sent out to the newspaper. Signs are up on the property. And I believe a notification did go out through our email mechanism. Twice. So we have not done anything that was different than any other application that we have had before. All the proper notifications have been done, which is what town staff does and what we have done for this particular application. So, so I think, in my opinion, as one board member, that seems to be something we have addressed. Regarding some of the other things out there that you've brought up as well, in terms of the impact to the community, there is going to be an impact to the community. But we live within a town that has a water infrastructure for the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. And they have gone through great pains to meet with the town. We had a great work session back in, I don't know, when was that, July, June, sometime. They went through that quite a bit. And as far as materials being available, there is material available, I believe, in Town Hall. and I believe there's also material available in the library. Now, I know this is a little different because a lot of material we do put on our website, but it is my understanding there are security concerns with presenting this material online. And I would say, me personally, I really do want to make sure that New York City Department of Environmental Protection goes through great lengths to protect our water supply and to protect the water supply for the city of New York. So while it may be inconvenient to go into town hall, while it may be inconvenient to go to the library if it's available in the library, it's a necessity, in my opinion, as one board member here tonight, that happens because it is our responsibility to be good stewards of that water supply that is within the town of Mount Pleasant. Okay? Any
Can I
other?
ask if, would posting the presentations that have been made in a public forum be okay with the applicant to post on the city's website?
On the city's website?
On the town's website
Town
here?
website.
Because that way, I think that addresses
Can-
one of
can you
Mr. Russell's
Just wanted to just
concerns.
come up and just address, that's a good concern. We may have a couple of questions too from the board.
Yeah, so we have no problem making this presentation available so it can get posted to the town's website.
In the town, we can post that, correct? Okay, does that answer that question?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. Let the record show there's no questions or comments from board members, and let the record show there's no additional questions from the community. So we have a public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board for this public hearing to do with what tonight?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and provide a 30-day comment period.
Okay, motion from Joan,
Second?
second from Eileen. Walter,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Joan,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
JD,
Aye.
and I for me. The public hearing has been closed for 30-day written comment. What is the pleasure of the board for what to do with this application?
I don't know if we can ask for a resolution until we hear the public comments, you know. I
Well,
can draft something, but
okay, well, that's, we could put that into a motion then.
I mean, I also would like to have a little bit of a better understanding of the roadwork, the pathway. It hasn't been defined yet. You know, I think that that's something that we should know prior to drafting a resolution. I mean, we talk about the lifespan of these roads over here, and it's being expedited tremendously, so it's a concern of mine.
So what I would offer, JD, the public hearing and environmental impact statement talked about routes. You heard tonight, they're refining that, but we don't have that refined routes in hand yet. So I think they could, if you wouldn't mind providing us with more detail with respect to those routes, and that can perhaps help you understand how they're going to do it.
The routes, yes, but I mean, I still think I'd like to further the conversation on restoration of the roadways.
Goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yep,
Isn't 9A a state highway?
it is. And if the portion of it in another municipality wouldn't be our issue.
You're right. I want to make a comment on this whole project. The DEP must do this. It's not optional. Nor is it optional for us to say they can't do it. That's not an option we have either. I think the options we have are to make sure it's done as well as it can be done with as little disruption to the citizens of the town of Mount Pleasant, knowing full well there's going to be quite a bit of disruption at times. As much as I find that distasteful, I think we also have no choice. We're going to just have to put up with this for a while. We're going to do our best to limit what goes on, but that's all we can do.
Which has been the focus of this board, and I know may even be a little bit of an irritating question that I keep bringing up. How does the town of Mount Pleasant get better as a result of all this? But the questions that JD is bringing up, and Joan is bringing up, and Arlene is bringing up, fit into that vernacular of how do we make the town better, both during construction as well as post-construction. So let's kind of regroup a little bit. So we have a closed public hearing, but we're looking for some additional information. I think what we could do, well, I'm going to hold off because it's not what I think. I'm going to let the board weigh in on this.
So the fact that you've closed the public hearing starts a clock with respect to
Yep.
your obligation to render a decision. So I think it's 45 days, so
Mhm.
waiting 30 days to determine what you want to do gets tight. So you may want to draft a resolution, pro or con, during that period of time and take a look at it. And you can obviously amend it, change it, modify it, however you choose. But
Okay.
my fear is the clock is ticking now with respect to our obligation. If you didn't act on this, it's an automatic approval, so.
Yep. Okay, what is sentiment of the board and how to respond to that? With the fact that the clock will start ticking tonight, we're looking for additional information, which could make its way into the resolution.
Right, as you know, Mr. Chairman, typically,
Right.
anything that's a condition, we draft for you to review and
Right.
determine if it's appropriate or not. So we don't know what those conditions would be yet. We
So-
have to compile them.
So let's be fairly formulaic, because I don't want to have any confusion at the next meeting. So what are we looking for from the applicant tonight? Or not tonight, we're talking about tonight, we're talking about the roads.
Okay, so speaking on the roads, once you guys decide on a path, are you willing to put into the resolution that you'll restore the roads after construction is complete?
So the application that we have before you is specifically for the Eastview site, and it's already part of the contract that we're going to restore that road. So that's already there, and I think the farther you get away from that site, the harder it's going to be to attribute damage to anyone. You know, these are heavily used roads, so that's already part of the contract.
They are heavily used, but, I mean, we're clear on what these trucks are gonna do to the roadways over, the next 5 years.
Right.
So there is gonna be, tremendous contribution related to this project.
Right, and we are paving the entirety of Walker Road and then a portion of Dana Road as well.
So is that enough to my original question?
Sounds like.
You would not consider restoring the roadways of the rest of the path?
I would not personally be able to make that commitment tonight. I think we can engage in a discussion about it, to
Which
see
is what I
what,
would like to do,
Yeah.
and that's where I was going with this early on. So I'm not prepared to make a decision tonight.
So, and what we're talking about is our half of Grasslands Road and 9A, which is a state road. Those are the other roads in our community. Every of the other roads are heading south here in Greenberg, and 9A is the way up to where you can make a turn.
I mean, lots of trucks travel these roads. I don't think you can blame them on using the roads. Don't you pay taxes for trucks to use roads?
I mean, Joan, and what we're talking about, what they're going to be doing is not even a comparison. I mean,
I don't know, I'm on Route 9A an awful lot, and good luck on that road.
And to John's point, we have Amazon on 9A now, we have other changes going on in the community.
So 9A, I'm not taking into consideration. I don't expect
We
them
can't
to
do
restore
anything about
9A,
9A, Bill.
which is a state road. That's not where I'm going with this.
Just the
But right now,
local town
it's
roads.
a little ambiguous because we don't even have a path.
So when the UV plant was approved by your board many years ago, there was a formula that was included in your findings that related to roadway restoration. And it related to the number of trucks, the weight of the truck and so
Yep.
forth. And there was a formula, and it was derived from DEP. So perhaps we can uncover that again and determine if that's a vehicle to help us understand roadway damage and restoration.
Yeah, that's great. We can explore that. I just would like to continue the conversation. That's my question.
Okay, so how do we continue this conversation? because we have a closed public hearing now.
Can we draft a generic resolution of approval pending findings after 30
Yeah,
days?
what I think, Joan, we would do is we'd continue to work with DEP to figure out something that's reasonable, present it in a draft resolution, and you'll determine if
Then
it's
we'll-
adequate or not.
we'll-
And then we can revise it, modify it, make it better as you see fit. But just have something to work from.
So again, so it's the roads, which roads were taken to get around, and also the restoration of those roads is one conversation. Was there something
The
else?
town roads,
The town roads
yeah.
We need a set path of what they're going to drive.
and the set path.
And any comments that come in during the 30 days will be
Right.
forwarded those so we can,
As they always are.
Yeah.
You'd see them, and if they're relevant, bring them into the resolutions.
Okay.
So this would be an iterative working document until you decide to
right.
adopt it or not.
So what we're looking for from the applicant is a more clear description of what roadways. It seems a little maybe wishy-washy, and it may be weather-dependent, it might have a number of variables, but we're going to try to pin you down a little bit so that we can assess the impact to our local roadways.
So
Pat,
you're-
you think you can resurrect the formula?
So I recall it, so we'll talk to the folks across the hall
Okay,
there and see if we
okay.
can
People
sort
who
it out.
made the formula.
So you're somewhat ahead, well on your way, because you have a contract, maybe not on board, not signed, like in order to proceed, but he has a signed contract with you. So you have an avenue for discussion as to where they're moving all these trucks and their path. They have to know they bid this project at over $800 million, so they know very well where this material is going. And they should be sharing that with you, then you could share with us. It seems a very easy question to ask them. So how they bid the job and where is the material going?
Okay.
To the resolution.
So getting back to the resolution, so we're going to look for roads, how they're getting around, any additional comments coming from the community, and I think that was it.
And there's myriad conditions that would go into this, all of the mitigation measures that have been addressed throughout this process. So those are the issues we discussed this evening.
Right, because there's issues that we talked long before.
That would be carried over.
Because this phase 2 conversation has been around for quite some time.
It has.
So there's nothing new here tonight. So a lot of these questions we have brought up before. And I know specifically that the conversation regarding pathways or roadways around the community has come up before. So,
But Jim, if you remember, noise mitigation
Right.
and visual impacts, all of those things are issues you've already discussed.
Yep.
Have been addressed back and forth with the applicant, have been resolved in correspondence from the applicant back to you.
Yep.
All of that would be embedded in the approval.
no, correct, right. So we have talked all about that. We talked about it quite a bit in phase 1, and we've talked about it in phase 2, and we'll continue to talk about it in phase 3, to be frank.
And
when it comes
just
back.
to be clear, there was an environmental impact statement with findings that we will cull conditions from the findings and embed them in the resolution too.
And I think, right, and all these improvements, I think, were a good idea to embed into this resolution, by the way, to make sure that it's embedded in there. Okay, so with that being said, what is the pleasure of the board now that we've talked it through? We have a closed public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we have the consultant draft a resolution of approval,
With,
conditions as deemed necessary
Yeah.
throughout the process.
that we've outlined in the last 15 minutes or so,
Well,
or 10 minutes.
previously.
And the DEIS and,
Pat, I think you got all those.
I understand,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so we have a motion from Joan,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Joan.
Aye.
I was thinking of this guy for a second. Eileen,
Thank you.
aye.
JD,
Aye.
and an aye for me.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight. And we'll see you at the next meeting, whenever that is.
It seems to be every week.
We off?